Spider-Man Far From Home is finally out, and it may have left us with more questions pertaining to the future of the MCU and Phase 4 than answers. But aside from that, the film is filled with a bunch of little Easter eggs and references throughout, especially for comic book fans. So today we are breaking those down for you with our top 10 Easter eggs you missed in Spider-Man Far From Home. Let's get to it. Also, heads up everybody, but there are major spoilers for Spider-Man Far From Home on this list. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, maybe, just come back and watch later, or, be spoiled. It's up to you guys. It's a pretty dope movie. You probably will want to see it. Starting us off in at number 10, A New Phase. Far From Home begins with a hilarious sequence featuring Peter's high school video news team. In it, we hear Betty say that coming back from the snap, which is referred to as the blip throughout the whole film, is the beginning of a new phase. This is a subtle little reference to the fact that after Far From Home, the MCU is moving into Phase 4, which will without a doubt be a brand new chapter in the franchise's narratives, one that seems to be hinting to a brand new group of Avengers. Or maybe no Avengers, who knows? Moving on to number 9, the documentaries. When Peter is on the flight to Italy, he quickly looks through the airplane movies, and ends up not watching anything when he comes across an Iron Man documentary. Still feeling pretty bad about the fact that Iron Man is dead. That's not the only Marvel-themed movie that appears in the on-flight film selection though. There's a documentary called Finding Wakanda, which likely pertains to the fact that Wakanda has been, for years, hidden from the rest of the world up until Black Panther came out and opened up connections to, well, the rest of the world. Some also noticed another documentary that seemed to be a subtle little hint to the hero Nova, with the film being called Nova. He's a character rumored to eventually be entering the MCU. Whether or not that actually pertained to Nova or the Nova Corps, whose fate is largely unknown after Thanos' reign of terror, is up in the air. Up next, number 8, Peter's birthday. There's a shot in the film in which we see Peter's passport, and on it, it says his birthday is August 10th. Now in the comics, his birthday is actually October 14th. So what significance does August 10th actually have? Well, it's the date that the comic Amazing Fantasy issue 15 was released, the comic that Spider-Man first appeared in. It's not the only little date Easter egg that made it into the film either, which brings us to our next number, and at number 7, Hydro Man. When the gang make it to Venice, many of Peter's classmates have their cell phones out and are snapping photos on the boat that they're arriving in. When Betty is taking a photo of Ned, there's something behind him of interest. It's a boat that reads ASM 212. This is a reference to the comic Amazing Spider-Man issue 212, in which Hydro Man first made his debut. Hydro Man is a standalone villain on his own, not an illusion made by Mysterio, worth noting. And at number 6, Hotel DEMATTEIS. We got another Easter egg that appeared in Venice and at this number. When Peter and the gang arrive in Venice at their hotel, it's not the most ideal of accommodations. It's partially flooded and appears to be under renovations. But what you may not have noticed is the hotel's name, Hotel DEMATTEIS. That's a reference to J.M. DEMATTEIS, one of Spider-Man's biggest contributors in the comics, who wrote arcs like Kraven's Last Hunt and The Child Within, which was the arc in which Harry Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, made his epic return in. He's also written other major Marvel characters in the past, the likes of Doctor Strange, Daredevil, and the Silver Surfer. Moving on to number 5, Earth 833. When we first meet Quentin Beck, he states that he is from another Earth. He says that this Earth is Earth 616, which we already knew, and he's from Earth 833. Now that Earth actually exists in the comics, and it's the reality that's home to Spider UK. He's a member of the Captain Britain Corps. Now while in the full narrative of the film, when Beck's motives are revealed, that number does mean nothing. Something he made up likely. But it is still a nice little shout out to a European Spider-Man, considering that this entire film mainly takes place in Europe. Up next at 4, AC/DC. A lot of Spider-Man Far From Home feels like a giant parallel between Peter Parker's coming into new responsibilities and Tony Stark's growth as Iron Man in his first feature film, with Far From Home including a lot of nice little Stark-themed throwbacks, especially this one. Before Peter takes on Mysterio in the final climax battle of the movie, he's aided by Happy Hogan in one of Stark's jets, constructing a new suit to use against the Master Illusionist. While Peter's doing some really familiar hand motions while creating his suit, Happy puts on a familiar song. It's AC/DC, a throwback to the Iron Man films, which Peter hilariously mistakes for Led Zeppelin. But fun fact, Thor Ragnarok made use of Led Zeppelin's songs, so that could be a nice little shout out to that film soundtrack. Up next at 3, my personal favorite, the selfie. Towards the very end of the film, after Peter has returned to New York, as he's swinging through the city on his way to meet MJ, there's a moment where he snaps a selfie on his phone. Now those of you who have played the PS4 Marvel's Spider-Man game will recognize the selfie as one of the promo photos from the game, and one of the poses, or rather emotes, that you can do in the game when you take a selfie. It was part of the game's photo mode, which got a lot of praise when the title came out. Up next, number 2, What's next? In the same scene that we mentioned in our previous number, as Peter is flying around with MJ in his arms, there's a billboard in the background that has an intriguing message on it. It reads, 1, arrow, 2, arrow, 3, arrow, question mark. And I quote, "We can't wait to show you what comes next." Now many people believe that this is a shout out to the future of the MCU, while others felt it was something that hinted to the big reveal in the post-credit scenes that followed. Speaking of, finally in our number 1 spot, Jonah Jameson. The end credit scenes of the film left fans pretty astonished and laid out some major implications for further MCU movies. But without getting too much into what that means, you guys can actually check out our Spider-Man Far From Home ending explained video coming out later today for that. There was one cameo that's worth mentioning. It's technically an Easter egg despite being a very obvious one. In the first end credit scene, after Peter's date with MJ, he stops to watch a video playing on a big screen featuring breaking news. And it's news broken by the Daily Bugle. And guess who plays Jonah Jameson? The only man who ever really could. Yes, we are talking about the return of J.K. Simmons, the actor who played the character in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. While the Daily Bugle feels more like an InfoWars news site now rather than an actual newspaper publication like in the comics, seeing Simmons reprise his role is a pretty big deal, and could mean that some of our favorite cast members, likely minor or supporting roles, from previous franchises or Fox or Sony films may end up returning if Marvel Studios sees fit. So here's hope that Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool will see the light of day in the future of the MCU. Alright, there we have it friends, what other Easter eggs did we miss? Give us a shout out in those comments below and hey, maybe we'll do a part 2. In the meantime though, if you dug this video, spread the love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more on Spider-Man Far From Home. Alright, thanks for watching guys, I'll catch you all in the next video.